Okay. So in this presentation, I will talk about phonetics and the main principles and the ideas you have to take into account concerning phonetics. So, an overview of what we're going to cover in this one. So, we're going to talk about three things. Because when you are talking about phonetics, you need to talk about three things, three main things. And these are referred to as different types of the phonetics. The first one is articulatory phonetics. What does it mean, articulatory phonetics? It studies how speech sounds are produced. Sound, how is it produced? And then, production of speech. Auditory phonetics, it focuses on the ear. It focuses or studies how speech sounds are perceived. When you hear something, how do you understand that it is S? How do you understand that it is Ali? Do you understand that it is colorless, green, idea, sleep, furiously, or whatever? Okay? So there is a perception that goes on, and here we focus more on the ear, and of course, in addition to the brain, because things go together. Okay? And lastly, the third type of phonetics, it is acoustic phonetics. And acoustic phonetics, it studies the physical properties of speech. And here also we deal with what we call as noise, you know, when there are the sounds, but there are also people speaking outside, music going on, you know, acoustics, and also the physical properties of, and we also talk about waves, you know, waves, the sounds, they are waves or signals that go outside your mouth and then they are transported in the air and then go to your ear, etc. Okay? So these are the main types of phonetics, and we're going to have an idea about each of them, okay, in a bit of detail. So the first thing I talk about is articulatory phonetics. And here, if you take articulatory, we're talking about to articulate. How to articulate. To articulate means how you move your mouth and vocal tract and all the parts in your mouth, okay? The lungs and the here, the glottis, etc. Okay, so that's what we mean by articulation. How you move, when you move, okay, how do you produce the sounds? What are the organs of speech involved in the pronunciation of S? What are the organs of speech involved in the pronunciation of M? What are the organs of speech involved in the production of W? Okay? So, this is what we mean by articulatory phonetics. It investigates how speech sounds are produced. And here I put for you this chart. It's taken from this website, okay, Interactive English Language Club. So, it gives you an idea about the different types of sounds we have, okay? The production of these speech sounds involves an understanding of speech anatomy. So if you want to understand how we articulate, how we produce all these sounds here, okay, we produce these sounds here, you need to understand what we call as speech anatomy. Now, what do we mean by speech anatomy? So this is what we mean by speech. You go into the study of your organs of speech, of your vocal tract, and what are all the organs involved in the production of sounds or speech in general. Okay? So this is you can have this. It's comprehensive because when you want to produce, you start from the lungs, and then it goes on up to the tongue and the teeth and the lips. Okay? Because if you want to produce a sound, you need to use the air. That's why you need to take into account the lungs as well in the production of speech or sound. So if you stop breathing, you don't put out any air, like this, and then you can't say anything. You need to use the air from the lungs in order to produce sounds. Now, this is why I put this picture here for you. Because you need to take, because usually people forget about the role of lungs and the air, okay? So it's also important. And then, in addition to that, we have all the other elements we have in the vocal tract, which we have here. And inside the vocal tract, there is also one element which is also important, which is the larynx, which you have here. Here you have it, the larynx. Okay? And the vocal tract. The larynx, this is the area where you have the vibration. The vibration takes place. Okay? Vocal cords. How you can make a difference between th and v, p and t, k and g. When you have the vibration, so also a very important part of the speech anatomy. So you understand the whole picture now? So all these, I'm giving you here the global picture of the organs of speech. All of them here, so you have the names. I don't go to the names, you can go through that on your own when you have the presentation online. So, and then inside of this you have another area which is important. It is the vocal tract with the nasal cavity, the palate, the teeth, the lips, the teeth, the tongue, etc. And inside of this you have the area here which is the larynx, okay, where you have the vocal cords, etc. The most important element in there, okay? Good? So, if you want to understand how we produce speech, we need to understand, first of all, this speech anatomy. What are the different types of organs that are involved in the production of speech? So here they are for you. You go at home and you have a look of the names by yourselves, okay? And try to remember them, okay? Try to remember those names. Now, I'll show you more the relevance of air in the production of sounds. So here we are talking about airstream mechanism. So when we are talking about the lungs, I told you that it's very important and the air is important. So here we are talking about airstream mechanism. An airstream mechanism, we can come up with different types of sounds depending on the way the air is used. Okay? So either you have the air here, we're focusing on the air here, okay, pulmonic, or from here, glottalic, or the air in here, velaric. You can have different types of sounds depending on the area where the air is focused and used mainly. This is one way referring to the idea or principles of classification. You remember? Dimensions of classification. So here we are also referring to some principles and dimensions of analysis of sounds. Okay? So this is one way how to differentiate between sounds. You can have pulmonic sounds, glottalic sounds, velaric sounds. Okay? Depending on the area where the air is mainly focused and used. Okay? Now, another way how you can have different types of sounds and classify sounds differently is depending on the way how air is used as well, but not in relation to an area of your organs of speech, but onto the way how the air goes out or inside. You can have, mostly languages go this way. The air goes out. Okay? For example, for us, that's the way we speak. The air goes from the lungs and then goes out. But there are some areas, and that's what we call as aggressive, okay, sounds. But there are some languages, very few of them in Africa, okay, etc., other languages, where they use it the other way. When they are speaking, they don't take the air outside, from the lungs into the outside, but instead they take it inside, okay? Some languages, okay, no, I can't do this, but there are some languages which do that. Okay? So this is another way of how you can classify sounds depending on the air, how it is used. Either going outside or going inside. Going outside, aggressive. Most languages are this way. And inside, it is ingressive. Okay? So, for example, pulmonic, you can have plus aggressive. You can have some languages which use aggressive and some languages which use ingressive method. Glottalic sounds, you can have only this way, it's going out. Or velaric, you can have aggressive, or that's why I put for you the plus and minus sound. Depending on the way how language or the sounds are produced in a particular language. So this is grosso modo, okay, generally speaking, how sounds are produced in two different languages using the airstream mechanisms. It's okay? Okay? I think there is no big issue about this. Don't tell me you don't understand the fact that you can produce a sound by putting air outside or putting air inside. Maybe you can't do it, but you understand the principles, right? Next. Concerning articulatory phonetics, we need to differentiate again. So we have differentiated between sounds depending on the airstream mechanism. So also we can differentiate between sounds and classify them according to the following types. You can have segmental sounds, speech sounds, segmental. And these are the vowels and the consonants. Segmental, it means they are units, okay? They are segments, okay? And then suprasegmental, you can have stress. Stress is not a sound. Is it a sound? No. And that's what we mean by segmental, suprasegmental. Stress, you know stress? Yeah, okay. Arabic uses a lot of stress, okay? Loudness, pitch, the length, by opposition to p. P, short. There is no length, okay? So there is, it goes on, okay? So there are differences into these features and also accent, okay, other features. These are called as suprasegmental sounds, okay? And we're not going to focus on this area. We will focus mainly on vowels and consonants, okay? Because this area needs a lot of other details which you will study. Do you have phonology course? No? Maybe in semester 6, I suppose you have it. Anyway, so vowels, consonants, okay? So that's what we call as articulatory phonetics, right? Articulatory phonetics. Now we move on to the second group, which is called auditory phonetics. And what did we say? What is auditory phonetics? It focuses on the air. Okay? We don't focus on how we produce, but how we perceive the sound. It's really a complex domain, okay, this one particularly, and the other one, again, is even more. So, human hearing system. So, here you have the air, okay, the brain, and then here you have a focus on the air itself, okay? So, those, that's what we use for perceiving sounds, okay? Anatomy and physiology of speech perception. You have the ear and all the parts involved in the ear. But of course, you need not forget about the role of the brain. The brain, okay, also important here. So mainly this one is the entry. But then you use the nerves which take those sound signals into the brain and then perceive them differently. So that's what we mean by auditory phonetics. And finally, acoustic phonetics is all the types of things involved in addition to sounds and so on. You can have noise, you can have music, you can have all types of things involved into the waves, okay, the sound waves, etc. involved, because there is another area between you and your ear and my mouth and me. There is this area, okay? So what happens in this area? Okay, so that's acoustic phonetics. Okay, the waves that go, they use machines to analyze those waves and so on. Okay, so that's acoustic phonetics. Okay. Now we focus on the segmental. Okay, sounds. The segmental sounds. What are the segmental sounds? Vowels and consonants. So in this one, we are going to focus on vowels, okay? We focus on vowels. And then we will finish by talking about, okay, consonants, okay? Now, again, we have talked about airstream mechanism. This is a recap. So the most important element in the production of vowels is the air, okay, right? The air. So you can have different types, different ways how the air is produced. There are pulmonic, glottalic, and velaric. For this presentation, we're not going to talk about glottalic and velaric. There is some languages use that, okay? But for us, English, Arabic, we don't. We're not going to talk about. So when we use pulmonic, we will focus more on pulmonic okay, vowels. And then the other thing you have to understand and keep in mind concerning the production of vowels is, of course, the articulators, the vocal tracts, and all the organs involved in the vocal tracts. So you have these two elements for the production. These are the main elements for the production of vowels. Okay. Now let's move on into so when you produce, okay, the vowels, there are different ways how you produce the vowels. And depending on these ways and places, you can have different types of vowels. Okay? You have different organs involved in the production of vowels, and also different ways how the vowels are produced. So depending on these ways and places, we can come up with three main classifications, three main groups of vowels. And these are the vowel chart. We'll talk about the vowel chart, the primary set, and the secondary set. So we will see what we mean by each of them separately. Now, concerning the vowel chart, we have what we call cardinal vowels chart. In the cardinal vowels chart, what are the measures used? 4 reference points are used. Okay, so you have, in terms of articulation, where the vowel is produced, articulatory limits and extremes. Okay, depending on the tongue position, because one vowel, the tongue position is different from the other vowel, and also the tongue height. The tongue height. So these are the ways how we can classify again or come up with this, what we call cardinal vowels chart. Okay? Cardinal vowels. So you see here, these are different illustrations taken from a website that I'm going to put for you online. It's a very good website, very good. I don't rely, in fact, on the website itself, but I rely on the videos that they put on YouTube. It's linguistics-online.com. I will tell it to you on the blog so that you can go to it in detail. Here you have 4 ways how these vowels are produced. So you have E, A, R, and U. So you see the dot here? This is the only area or the only parts, organs involved in the production of this sound, this vowel. Concerning this vowel here, you have 2 areas are involved. Okay? Concerning this one, you have 3 areas. And this one, you have 4 areas. You see the vocal tract? How the shape is different from one to another. So that's how we produce these sounds. Okay? Now, E, A, and U, we come up with this chart, which is used as a main chart for vowels, which you have in here. That's why if you go to International Phonetics Alphabet, you all the time use this. Yes or no? Have you seen it or no? You should see it, because now you are in semester 5, normally you should know these things. Okay? Now you have, this is the main chart of cardinal vowels chart. Okay? Where you have the main, okay? Depending, and this, if you see it separately this way, what does it mean? It means this. The way how each sound is produced. Here you have only one, okay? This one, and then all of them, okay? Then, so E, U, A. If you go to those videos I put for you, and I can show you, I'm going to show you some videos right now, today, in which we have somebody illustrating for you, okay, how we produce each one of them. Now, what does it mean, this? You have this kind of shape. It is an illustration of the mouth. What happens in the mouth and the organs, the main organs in the mouth. It is the tongue. Okay? So you can have some vowels that are produced in the front part of the mouth. And you can have some vowels produced in the back part of the mouth. Let me go back to the previous slide. You see here, front part of the mouth and back part of the mouth. This is one way of classifying, okay, vowels. Understand it? So, for example, E and A, they are, if you go to phonology, they are going to tell you that they are front vowels. What do we mean by front vowels? It means that they are produced in the front area of the mouth. But then if you take U, A, it's a mixture of both. This one, they are produced in the back of the mouth, right? So this is one dimension. Okay? One dimension. Front part of the mouth, the back part of the mouth. Front part of the tongue, and the back part of the tongue. Okay? One dimension. Another dimension is, so here you can also have some vowels which are central. If you go to other languages of the word, you can have with other vowels in this area. Okay? So which are central. They are not in the front part of the tongue, not in the back part, but they are produced in the middle part of the tongue. Okay? Then, another dimension, which is also used using the vocal tract and how what we do when we produce vowels, it is the height of the tongue, high or low. Is your tongue, when you produce one vowel, high or is it low? Okay? Now, let me go again to this. Can you see with me? This one? High. High. Low. 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 This one is low. Where is the tongue? The tongue is sleeping here, right? Using another dimension. Okay? The tongue is sleeping here. Okay? It's down. It's low. But in these two here, I, E, and U, it is high. Both areas here, back and the front area, the tongue is high. In this area, this one here, only the front part is high. I want you to understand this. It's very useful for you. Illustration that will help you in all your phonology course later on. Okay? Because that's what we use for using what we call as distinctive features. Plus front, minus front. These are details which you'll see later on with generative phonology. Let me say this again to you. This is the tongue. Of course, you have the air in all of them going out, pulmonic. And then, when the air is going out, you have some parts of the tongue are involved with other parts. And then the tongue, it can be the front part of the tongue, or it can be the back part of the tongue. For example, this one here, E and U, it's okay, a mixture of them. The other way is if the tongue is high or low. Concerning E, it's high. The tongue is high. This one, it is high, both in the front part and in the back part. Here it is low, and here it is low. Okay? When you will see the video of the person, the guy illustrating this, you will understand. So that's how we produce vowels. So you can have, okay, front, back, and then you can have vowels which are high and vowels which are low. Now, if you go to other languages of the world, you can have, again, mid-high, mid-low, etc. Okay? So, but these are the main dimensions that we rely on to come up with what we call as this cardinal vowels chart. Okay? So you can see here the main vowels we have used for explaining our vowels. Okay? But then, of course, you can come up with others in different areas, right? And here you have this ruler here. It's a ruler just used for illustration for you. You are not going to take the ruler. You can do it at home if you wish. Use the ruler and then start calculating how the tongue is high and how the tongue is low, how the tongue is front and how the tongue is... But that's what is done in fact in phonetics, okay? They do it and then it's one way. It's not in fact, but it's one way how they can come up with a classification of vowels. Vowels, cardinal vowel chart. So you see here, all more vowels involved, and they are in different parts, different ways. Again, so those are the cardinal vowel chart. So what are we talking about in here? Where we focus on the airstream, okay? And then we focus on the tongue, the position of the tongue, where it is. Is it in the front part or is it in the back part? Is it high or is it low? Cardinal vowels chart. Then we can go further into the following primary sets. And in here, you are going to take other parts, which is what you see here, rounded and round. When we say rounded and round, what are we talking about? The lips. So here we have the lips. We are going further, okay, into another other organs of speech, okay, and we take into account the way how the lips, or the ways how lips work in the production of vowels. So, taking into account this further feature, we can come up with other types of vowels which are included in a different type of classification category, which is called primary set. So you can have 1 to 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. These, they are unrounded. It means that when you produce these sounds, the lips are not rounded. They are not rounded in circle, okay? But these ones here, ooh, 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 look at my mouth. It is rounded, so they are rounded. So number 6 to 8, they are rounded. So this is we call it as a primary set because we are taking another feature, which is the rounding of the lips. We don't more just focus on the tongue and the air, but we take the air, the tongue, and also the rounding, okay? Rounding of the lips. So you can have 1 to 5 minus round, and the others are round, okay? Okay? Then the secondary set, other more vowels in here, okay? Mostly these are called like semi-vowels, where you have 9 to 13, they are rounded, and then 14 to 16, they are rounded, okay? These are more vowels, okay? Another one, yes, the famous schwa, yes. Yes, schwa, schwa, different ways to call it. So this is very common in English as a sound, very common in English as a sound, and it's not in the front part of the tongue, or it's not front, it is in the central area, okay, of your tongue. And it belongs to this category called central set. In addition to the schwa here, you have more. They are produced in the center, using the center of the tongue, okay? And it's called the central set. So then you come with all the vowels in here, okay? Cardinal vowels chart, okay? So you have all of them. We don't talk only about English in here, okay? We talk about different languages and different vowels, okay? And classifying all of them. Then those are vowels, okay? Those are vowels. Now, we still have to finish with consonants, okay? The same thing again concerning consonants. There are 4 things we need to take into account when talking about consonants, okay? So we have articulation, manner of articulation, please, manner of articulation, place of articulation, and voicing. So these are the things we're going to cover when talking about consonants. So again, the airstream mechanism is very important. So we need to take into account. And also the articulator. So these are the 2 elements we have to take into account when analyzing, okay, consonants. Okay. Now, these are, we can also classify them into two categories. Okay? Or the articulators. Sorry, we can classify the articulators into two categories. There are what we call, okay, excuse me, I have to feed my computer. Okay. Good. So, passive, we can talk about two types of articulators, the organs that we use. We call them articulators. We can have two types of articulators. We have what we call passive articulators. And what do you think they mean? Passive. When you talk about passive, it means something that's sitting down, calm, okay? Not moving, okay? So there are some articulators that don't move, okay? They are passive. And there are others which move, which we're going to see in the following slide. They move. So here we talk about passive articulators. So they have different types of, okay, passive articulators. So for example, the teeth, the upper teeth and the lower teeth. And the types of sound we use for this are, you know, in English we have the and the, in addition to the tongue, of course, okay? So we have the tongue in the middle of the upper and lower teeth. What else? The alveolar ridge, okay, with the lips, okay? We have the palate. What is the sound that we produce with the alveolar ridge? This is the alveolar ridge, okay? You have the arrows to explain and to show that to you. So the alveolar, it is the back, very back of the teeth. The area that is back. Yes, so look at my finger, okay? This is it, okay? This is it. This is, you have the teeth, these are the teeth, upper teeth and lower teeth. These are the lips. And here in this area, exactly, you have what we call the alveolar ridge, okay? Then you have the palate, okay? So you can, for the alveolar ridge, you can use the alveolar ridge with the lips, okay? And you can produce something like f and v. These are the teeth, sorry, the teeth with the lips, v. The teeth with the lips, so v, or the. Let me say it again. So we have the and the. You have the tongue in the middle between the upper and the the. Then the teeth again with the lips. You can have the. Okay? So you can have different ways how the teeth work. Either you use the teeth with the tongue and then you have the and the. Either you use it with the upper with the lips and then you have the and the. Okay? And the. Okay? Then the alveolar ridge, you use that if you produce, can you produce s? That's the alveolar ridge, huh? Okay? Alveolar ridge. R. Can you produce a r? So that's alveolar ridge. It's immediately back of the teeth. Then you have the palate. The palate. This is the palate for you. Okay? After the alveolar ridge, you have what we call the palate. And we use it to produce something like, I don't know how to produce it, but because we are not used to it, but that's one sound. It's, you have the symbol in here, okay? Anyway, difficult to produce. Other sounds, we use what we call the velum. This one we are used to it, like k and g. Can you pronounce k? Velum. This part, okay? Not uvula. Not the uvula. This is the uvula. I'm talking about velum here. So you use it for producing, okay? These sounds k and g. Okay? Then you have the epiglottis, okay? Where you produce something like h, okay? It's here, or something like between the epiglottis and here in this area, the pharynx. For Arabic, we have this lot, etc. We use this area, okay? The epiglottis and the pharynx. Concerning the nasal cavity, we also use it. It's a passive area, okay? It doesn't move. The nasal cavity is here area, okay? This area, in the nose, inside the nose, okay? So here it's involved in production of sounds like m, n. You have the nose involved, the nasal cavity. So m, n, okay? Okay, that's the and the Americans, they use this a lot. The nose, the nasal cavity, use it a lot. Okay, so passive articulators. Okay, passive articulators, right? Active articulators. We have the upper lip or lips in general, but it's basically the upper lip. B, p, okay, b and p. And you can have the tongue. These are active. It means they move when they are producing sounds. They move. They are high or low. Okay. The glottis. Okay. And the uvula for Arabic for us. We use it a lot. It moves. Like your tongue when you produce r, it vibrates. Keeps vibrating. The same thing for the uvula when you produce r. The uvula keeps vibrating. R. Okay, it keeps vibrating. So uvula. So these we call them active articulations. It's okay. This is one dimension. So we take into account passive articulators and active articulators. Another dimension that we have to take into account when analyzing sounds is place of articulation. It also refers to the place where you produce the sound, in what organ is involved. So, the contact position, place of articulation, it means the contact position between an active and passive articulator. Active and passive articulator. You have, for example, the tongue with the teeth. Okay? Tongue with the teeth, and then you have the. Your teeth are not moving, but your tongue moves to the front. You see, it goes out even. So it moves. So the place of contact between the active and the passive, we call it place of articulation. Here I have a video that I would like to show you. Hopefully it will work. A very useful video. Where is my software? This one. It is taken from another video, but I don't want to use the whole video. This one is short, so history. Okay, place of articulation. Let's see this one. Okay, so the voice, hopefully it will work for you. So I didn't bring my loudspeakers.
I will now produce one consonant. I will choose a fricative consonant. That is a consonant which produces a turbulent airflow per place of articulation. And I will do it between two vowels for reasons of better audibility. Let's start with bilabial consonants. Now here we can observe a constriction between the lips, and the result would be something like
You see? Bilabial.
The next place of articulation is the labiodental place of articulation, where we can observe a constriction between the lower lip and the upper teeth. A typical consonant would be fa.
Fa, that's one professional way of doing it. What's fa?
Dental. The dental, Latin dentis, the tooth. Now the dental area involves a constriction between the tongue and the upper teeth. Here is a consonant.
And the. Okay. It is
the next place of articulation is the alveolar place, that is the alveolar ridge, and it involves, of course, a constriction between the tongue and the alveolar ridge. Here is a consonant. Asa. The post-alveolar area is just a little bit further back. Now here we have a constriction again between the tongue and this post-alveolar area. A consonant, an example of a consonant is a-sha, a-sha. The retroflex place of articulation is a little bit different because it is still the same place of articulation, post-alveolar, but the tip of the tongue is slightly curled back, and the result would be something like ar-sha, ar-sha.
It's a mixture of...
If we have a narrowing in the roof of the mouth, that is in the palatal region, we get something like ah-sha, ah-sha. And then the velar place of articulation involves a constriction between the velum and the tongue. The result would be ah-ha, ah-ha. And if we move further back and use the uvula as a region, as a place of articulation, as a passive articulator, with the tongue and the uvulum creating some sort of constriction, we get aha, aha. And even further back, in the pharynx, we have the pharyngeal place of articulation. The result would be aha, aha. And finally, if the narrowing occurs in the glottis, we get something like aha, aha.
Make a difference between ha and ha. Ha, that's pharyngeal, and ha is glottal. Ha, it's back. Okay? So those are... Okay. Now, so those are the classification, that's the classification of consonants on the basis of place of articulation. Labiodental, dental, alveolar, etc. Another way of classifying things is on the basis of manner of articulation. And here again I have a video. Hopefully I still have it. So let's see. History. Yes, manner of articulation. So he's going to do the same thing again, using the different types of manners of articulation. He will show you how we can have like voicing and depending on.
Now there are several ways or manners in which articulation can be accomplished. The articulators may completely close off the oral cavity for an instant or a relatively long period. They may narrow the space considerably, or the articulators may simply modify the shape of the vocal tract by approaching each other. The following manners of articulation can be distinguished, and again, I will produce one consonant per manner. In fact, in each case, I will produce an alveolar consonant. Let's start with the plosive manner of articulation. Now, plosive consonants involve three phases: a closure, a compression behind it, and then a release. The result would be atta, atta.
So here, plosives. What does it mean, plosives? It means like you have something like an explosion, and you have the air. You see the air going out, and then this air is blocked in here, and then after some time it explodes and goes out like this. So when you produce the air goes out, but you block it and then you release it. Okay? P. You can have plosives different ways. You can have P as well. P is a plosive. P. Okay? Yes, so different way, different types of plosives. So that's one manner of articulation. And also you can classify sounds on the basis of this. So you can have P, T, K. K, the same thing again. K. You have a blockage of the air, and then you release it, and then you have the production of K. So P, t, k. So the air is blocked in different places. P is blocked in the lips, t in the alveolar, k in the back of the mouth. Okay, so that's how we have the different sounds. Let's continue.
Nasal consonants. We have an oral closure too, but this time we have a phonic opening, allowing the airstream to escape through the nose, and the result would be anna, anna.
So, but different way how you do this.
Trills involve rapid closures and openings. Here is the result. Arra,
So
arra.
how you can do again the same thing. So
Similarly, flaps
release.
also involve openings and closures. However, this time we only have one single rapid opening and closure. The result would be ara, ara.
I need to explain it. So r, r, you have many times you do the blockage and the release. R, r, okay? But this tap or flap one, you block and release the air only once. R, r. You don't keep doing r. So that's another sound as well. That's another consonant. We call it tap or flap.
The fricative manner of articulation involves some sort of constriction or narrowing between two articulators. The result is a turbulent airflow. The result would be something like asa, asa.
So here, you don't have a complete blockage of the air. Almost a blockage of the air, but the air keeps going out and there is a friction going on between two organs. Friction, okay? So that's one way. You can have it in the air. You almost want to block it, but you keep some air going out. And then when air keeps going out, you have a friction between the upper lip and the lower lips. Okay? Sorry, between the upper teeth and the lower lip. Okay? Friction. That's why it is called fricative. Friction, when you have the air going out and then you keep moving between them, okay? You don't block. There is still some... Okay, let's move on.
If the air stream escapes at the sides, that is laterally, we can produce a lateral fricative consonant. Just like with fricatives, it involves a turbulent airflow. Asha, asha.
It's another type of fricative.
Consonants are a little bit problematic. Okay? They involve an almost free air passage and are almost like vowels. Some people even call them semi-vowels. So
you know
an approximant would be something like ara, ara.
Okay.
And finally, if the air stream in an approximant escapes at the sides, that is laterally, again with almost free air passage, we get something like Allah, Allah.
Okay. So those are the classification of consonants on the basis of manner of articulation. Manner of articulation. Okay? We move on. Another thing that we mentioned at the beginning, it's voicing. Voicing, you know the story, I suppose. You have the vocal cords, you have the air mechanism, airstream mechanism. In addition to the glottis, okay, and you have the vocal cords. Here are the vocal cords. You see them? This is what you have inside. Here. You have this. Okay? And then they keep vibrating. You see? This way, this way. They are vibrating. Normally there should be an animation showing you like we're going this way. Okay? They keep vibrating. Okay? So that's how we can come up with sounds that are voiced and others which are voiceless. T, k. Okay? P, t, k. P, t, k. There is no vibration in the vocal cords. That's why they are called voiceless. B, d, g. They are voiced because the vibration takes place. Okay? So here global, like for the vowels, I show you a global chart for including all the types of vowels using the different ways they are produced. The same thing for the consonants as well. We can have come up, it's called the International Phonetic Alphabet, and then we can have classification depending on the manner of articulation. Here, bilabial, labiodental, dental, alveolar, etc. And then manner of articulation, plosive, nasal, etc. Okay? So you can, I will post a link for you so that you can study it in bit of detail. Okay? And thank you very much. That's it.